in 1933 when Roosevelt himself, who was a buddy of Rockefeller, he wanted to start war with Japan in 1933. But they told him, no, hold off. The reason why is because of Rockefeller and the oil reserves in China. That he had contracts with the oil reserves in China. And he had a lot of oil wells in there. And he was afraid Japan would go in and confiscate those oil wells in China. And he didn't want that. Anyway, Stimson, who was the Secretary of State, had convinced Roosevelt to hold off. And then when the infamous attack on Pearl Harbor, which Roosevelt knew about, Stimson knew about, because he was over there in China, in Japan at the day that the planes were coming towards Pearl, and they were notified, before the day before. They allowed that to happen to get the American people so incensed that they would allow Roosevelt to declare war on Japan unknowingly amongst the American people to protect the oil interests that Rockefeller had.
There was a book called, have you read it, The Final Secret of Pearl by retired Rear Admiral Theobald?
No, I haven't.
All right. If you get a chance, get your hands on it, I think it will you'll understand why it's a gem. Final Secret of Pearl by Rear Admiral Robert Theobald, written in 1954, says exactly what you stated. Theobald knew that Stimson, Henry Stimson, and Roosevelt, and the whole cabinet knew what was going to happen.
Yeah, they did.
Right, and it was, and in this case too, was there not another thing? And of course, Smedley Butler. Have you ever read that? The War is a Racket.
No.
All right, Butler says he says quite frankly. I mean, this is a guy that was a brigadier general in the Marines. And he said, "Yeah, I made life safe for Standard Oil in China." And that's a statement and a half.
Yeah.
Now, you can read that online. War is a Racket. But the other thing about Theobald's book, he said that they all knew it. And what I love is the syntax they use, and that the fact that the cabinet, quote, appreciated there would be a major loss of life.
Right.
Thanks, guys. Now, didn't this also, get us backhandedly into a war with Germany because of the tripartite agreement that had been made between Italy, Japan, and Germany?
Yeah, that's exactly right. And when you mentioned about that book, another book that I doubt anybody's going to be able to get, unless they go to an old bookstore that might be able to get old books. It's called The Federal Reserve, Conspiracy and Rockefeller, Their Gold Corner, by Emmanuel M. Josephson. And it was issued by the Chedney Press.
Spell Chedney, please.
It's Chedney. All
right, the reason I say that is because having worked for a university library with whom I still have good contacts, never, ever underestimate the power of interlibrary loan.
Right.
And that's how I got a lot of books, so I'm going to run that one through and get my hands on it and follow your instructions.
This is 1968, and it has a Library of Congress card number 68-29455.
All right, excellent. Very good. All right, we only have a couple of minutes left, and I tell you, this has been really an invaluable amount of time. And I know we haven't scratched things at all. I mean, the surface of things. But I tell you what, still in all, this kind of information is what people really need. Those who have listened to this show are only going to hear this and be confirmed, reaffirmed, or whatever. Those who don't know can either take a look at this is a starting point. But the thing is, if we don't do it, you never know what's going to happen. We can do it. It can all fall upon deaf ears. But that's the way it goes, is it not?
Yes, because I had wrote up this little thing for this first show, which is 17 pages. Believe it or not, I am down to page 4, and there's so much that people have to understand about first the foundation. Without a foundation, you can't do anything. It's like when people go into fighting the IRS, they start on the 4th floor, and they work on up to the 12th or 13th floor, and they lose. But had they gone back at the foundation and looked at the foundation, they might not have lost. But the problem is, nobody starts at the foundation. Nobody wants to go back to old-timey law. Oh, that's old history. That's ancient history. What has that got to do with today's problem?
Right.
Just like when you're in high school and you go back and you look at Shakespeare and all those things, and they try to teach you this. What's that got to do with modern living, you say?
Uh-huh.
Well, in certain instances, yeah, it really doesn't mean anything, but when you go into history and law, you have to go way back. I mean, 100 years is nothing.
Yep.
In fact, if you go to your cases today, they call ancient history anything older than 20 years.
Oh.
So think about that.
All right.
20 years is considered ancient history in law, but we're going back centuries.
All right, let's hold it right there. I tell you, it's a good place to stop. And if you don't mind, let's pick it up at another time, which we will agree on, where we can pick it up right from the point where we stop. Once again, this is The Informer. You can go to atgpress.com to find out his writings. And listen, we thank you very much for coming on with us, and will you please do it again? And I hope you felt edified by it, because you're not wasting your time.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. You know, how many people can come out of their cognitive dissonance and start learning.
Well, you challenged him, so just get ready.
Okay.
All right.
I will.
God bless you, and we'll talk again.
Okay.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.